And we welcome you to another edition of This Is Your Life, John Cena. It's Versage. It is Zach McGibbon, and it is countdown 4 more days, including today, to the end of John Cena's in-ring career. We welcome you to This Is Wrestling. Good afternoon, Zachary. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Mr. Versage. I am looking forward to chatting about this. It's it's quite amazing how we started from, John Cena. He's got a year, he's got all these dates he's going to fill out, and now here we are, one more date essentially with the Saturday night's main event show, and he'll take on Gunther for that match. And we're already at this point where we're at John Cena's final match, so looking forward to breaking this down.
What is your first ever memory without going back on tape of John Cena?
Probably would have to be the Punk feud. So yeah, like I've said the story before. So I was one of the people that was tuned in to CM Punk's pipe bomb. I was watching it midway through on a pre-tape. This was I think the day after Raw, and it was playing when I came back from school. On the Score, when the Score was a television network and not an app or something you see on social media. But I remember seeing it on the Score. It was midway through the promo, and I was interested because I have heard of John Cena before. I knew him as a professional wrestler. Didn't think too much of him, but I saw this guy, CM Punk, cutting a promo on him, sitting down at the top of the stage, and I was thinking, man, the way that he is delivering this promo right now to John Cena, it seems pretty legitimate. And I remember reading stuff afterwards and being interested about and saying, yeah, like this is a legitimate situation. Punk, we don't know if Punk's contract is going to run out, that sort of deal. And it got me interested about where it was going. So funny enough, it was my first memory of John Cena from a professional wrestling standpoint was, when he was on his back and after his match and having to take in that CM Punk pipe bomb promo. That was my first memory for me.
That's a very midway through his career memory. Shows your age, Zach.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think for me, it really was the ruthless aggression time coming in the ring and basically hanging with The Undertaker. Like I know he was on a little bit before that, but that was, for me, the first time where it's like, they don't usually do things like this. And, standing up to The Undertaker and saying all the things that he had to say to him. And then it became, I just remember the heel John Cena, which is just crazy, right? Like that he had gone so long without being a heel, but at the beginning when he was, supposed to, I think they leaned into in those early 2000s, the fact that there's a guy kind of trying to be like Vanilla Ice. At least that's how it came across to me.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we know the crowd is not going to like that. So a guy that's got some skill can handle himself with the microphone. We know the crowd won't like him. So we'll do some things to lean into the crowd not liking him. And then he kind of took off after that. And yeah, I have some kind of distinct memories, and we'll go through a little bit. His feud with Edge. I mean, lots of matches with Edge, but for the spinner belt and throwing the belt into the river and Edge getting sick because of it. And it was just one of the great feuds for me. And I think I wanted to ask you this, like going back to your memories, not only of him, but then going back on tape and watching it. Like at some point, the words keep sticking in my head, Big Match John from JBL. You used to always say it, Big Match John. But it was pretty true in a time where like my first like real big memory is that John Cena was basically the star of the WWE when it was going through a terrible cycle in the world of professional wrestling. I mean, every like no WCW, TNA was it wasn't quite there yet. There just was not a lot going on in the world of professional wrestling, and John Cena was the head of or the face of the WWE at the time when it really wasn't doing very well. That's a lot to handle kind of early in your career. Like we're gonna make Zach the face of the voice of the radio station. The radio station is not doing very well
Right.
as a whole, but we're gonna make Zach the face of it. He's gonna turn it
No
around.
pressure.
Yeah. And so I think he went through a lot of that early. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That really that mid 2000s era from like 2003 to 2006 where, you know, it's a little bit post ruthless aggression, but you're still starting to get into the phase of them going PG, and they go fully PG in 2008, but really during that time of WWE, they were kind of having a conscious a crisis of conscious of who are they? Who is the WWE at this stage now? They're no longer in the Attitude Era where you have guys like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin on standby. They had to go through the reign of terror with Triple H and his lengthy title reign and all these guys that were coming through. You knew I had to mention him somewhere, somehow, some way.
Well, you got it in early. That's good.
Yes. So, but you do have to mention the reign of terror during that time because it was pretty bad. Like you had guys like RVD and Booker T that could have been somebody at that time, and you know they did not ascend to that level. And so really it was kind of a time of, all right, how are we going to move forward and be the WWE and be part of this new era? And also too, you know, it looked like they were trying to go with Brock Lesnar in the early 2000s. And then obviously Brock didn't like the schedule. He wanted out of WWE. There was that whole situation there. So it really became up for the taking, and John Cena came in. And obviously, it's funny you mentioned JBL, who was able to beat JBL for the WWE title in 05. And that really kind of cemented him as the guy that they were going to move forward with and say, okay, this is our guy. We're going to push him and we're going to see what we can do with him at the top. And he wasn't, you know, when you go back and you watch the tape, certainly you could see the charisma was there and you could see why they went all the way with him, obviously with the benefit of hindsight too. But you could see then it's like he's got so much charisma. He's very good on the microphone. But even then, you could tell like his in-ring work, it's like, man, if he could just get a little bit better, if he could just find a way to get a little bit better, because he seemed to wrestle like he had two left feet. He was very uncoordinated in the ring. But I think over time, once he got into that spot and you put him into different positions facing different opponents, I'm not saying he was like my favorite wrestler of all time, but in terms of the spots that he was put in and some of the matches that he had and what he was able to get out of those matches and understanding who he was as a guy, knowing his limitations. I think the big thing with a lot of these professional wrestlers now is that not only do they know their strengths, but they also know their limitations and how much they can push it. And I think John Cena knew all of that. And obviously he was able to rely on his babyface, on his charisma. And then once it went PG, he was able to appeal to that small kid fan base. So all that to say, like, I think he's somebody that when you talk about big match John, like he's always in these WrestleManias, he's always in these big spots. And I think he's somebody that, you know, he didn't deliver all the time, but for a guy that you expect to put in that level and expect him to go out there and deliver in terms of, you know, having the crowd on your side, selling tickets and whatnot, I think John Cena definitely lived up to that standard when he was on top during his time in the WWE.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think most people that have the tenure that John Cena does and that aren't like one of the absolute great wrestlers, because some guys just have it.
Yeah.
Like AJ Styles always had it. But I find with a lot of people that there's this kind of three-part, you know, one of those graphs that have like the two big circles, but they're attached a little bit. And like
Oh,
one of the
yes.
circles basically has 45% and the other one's got 45%. But that little part in the middle where they
Yep.
connect and
Yes.
intertwine.
The Venn
There's that
diagram,
10
Lee.
What's that?
The Venn diagram, Lee.
Is that what it's called?
I believe it's called a Venn diagram. If
Oh,
you're talking about the two circles that are
I
interconnected.
made you question it, but I have no idea. So you can tell me anything.
Yes.
But I'm
It's a
glad I
pie
made you
chart, Lee.
question.
It's a pie chart.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, actually, it might be one that sometimes I would get. But you understand what I'm saying. Like, and so the
Yes.
beginning, that left circle of 45% was, man, this kid's got some great athletic ability. He's got some charisma, but he doesn't quite have the smoothness of like a natural. He doesn't do anything naturally.
Right.
And then there is about that, I would say the 10%, I mean, you can call it what you want, where it kind of blended in with, okay, like he understands what he's good at, he understands what he's bad at, and he's not breaking down yet. And then you have the other 45% that wrestlers, and this happens in all walks of life, people get smarter, but they're just not able to physically do the things. So they have to rely on their smarts to kind of keep that pace that they always kept, where most of them kept it with their physical ability and just weren't smart enough. And you always get that little 10%, 5% in the middle where it all kind of connects, right, and people get it. And it's what is called the prime of your career. I really enjoyed John Cena in that small window. I think of matches against CM Punk, a couple of them. I think of, like, for me, and we'll go through a couple of your favorite or best John Cena. Maybe we'll do your favorite and the best, and maybe those are different. They would be for me. But I think back to him in that sense to go, he was a very big draw. And he wasn't ever to me like, and I hate saying this, but Hogan, Flair, like in their heyday when it was like you stopped what you were doing because those people came out. I wasn't quite in that, and I was a little bit older as well, so maybe it was different, but I wasn't ever have to really stop what I was doing. But I also knew that when he came out during that window, it was important. Like, this was the best thing they had to feature. I think one of the things that I've really understood about the arc of John Cena's career, one of the things he says that it's like people still don't believe him when he says, I never pick my opponents. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. He's never really going to tell us, but I believe him for the most part. But what I truly believe, Zach, is that when people who work for a long time in the same place, if they are going to do anything for the company people and they always put the company first, there are others that are in the same workplace that don't love that. And heat comes on to those people, rightly or wrongly, because of their loyalty to the company. I completely believe that that's where some of the venom, not necessarily with the fans, but with some of the other workers came from. The jealousy, we can never get past John Cena. I don't look at him, and I guess here's the question. Like, Hulk Hogan held people down for basically his entire career. And we've gone through the list, right? We've talked about this a number of times on the show about the top 10 wrestlers ever. If you put the list of the greatest top 10 in the history of professional wrestling, almost all of them had that I'm going to stay on top almost no matter what. I am going to do wrong to other people to keep my spot. Almost all of them. And I remember we agreed, like probably Daniel Bryan was maybe the only one on that list, but I kind of feel like John Cena is on that list about not doing that. And I respect him very much for that. Now, again, when you are super loyal and do anything that the company ever asks, and you're the golden boy of the owner, people aren't going to like that. And that's where I think some heat came from him. But I truly believe that is who he was and who he still is. That he wanted to do that for the company all the time. And I think he got probably too much heat in a business where people want to be on top and they can't get past some guy who is on top and they don't like it. So how do you feel about me saying that? Do you feel like that's a fair characterization?
If you would have asked me in 2013, 2014, I would have said that's absolutely ludicrous. Obviously, he's holding people down. Look at guys like CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and those guys, and how they could have reached higher tops, but as John Cena has to stay on top. But now with as 4 years of being a wrestling fan and understanding how the business works, I've become more and more accepting of the idea that it wasn't necessarily Cena keeping people down during that time. I think it was the company realizing the stability that John Cena brought at the top, and they didn't want to risk it by having somebody else come in and beat him or push somebody else at that top spot. They will obviously push other guys from as a main eventer, but not to be the face of the company. And so it's funny, eventually with CM Punk, in my mind, it was like, oh, CM Punk should be a guy like he actually resonates with the fans. And like what you mentioned, Cena was the company guy. And in my mind at the time, it's like, oh man, how could you be the company guy when this company sucks? and CM Punk is trying to bring change to the company. But again, over time, it's like, okay, I understand what John Cena brought to his role during that time. And I think in those big match environments, like I will say, I think I'll even give you an ECW example. I was going to mention obviously Money in the Bank in Chicago with Punk and Cena was essentially even though he was a good guy, he was essentially a bad guy that night because the fans were booing him. But that wasn't really the first time Cena has had to deal with that. You could go back to ECW One Night Stand in 2006 when he took on Rob Van Dam, and he had to be in that hostile environment where he was the WWE guy representing the big evil corporation. And here's Rob Van Dam, and yes, he might be working for the WWE now, but he's always been an ECW guy, and he's our guy, and he's in Hammerstein. He's going to take that WWE championship from John Cena. I think that's kind of been the story of his career, is that he never wavered. He stuck by the company, and I think the company rewarded him in return for his loyalty. And that's why you kept seeing him at the top, being the major pushed guy, sometimes to a fault where it felt like he was the same character all the time and you wanted some elements of change. I will always remember the meme of whenever a heel would cut this lengthy promo on John Cena, and they'd be like, you stink and blah, blah, blah. And you would think he would get on John Cena, and then John Cena would just kind of stay there. And then he would say, fine speech. And then he would get into his babyface promo. And you're like, oh, this is, of course, he's going to talk about this and hustle, loyalty, and respect. And like what a dork this guy is, talking about hustle, loyalty, respect all the time. He just seems like a robot. But yeah, over time, I've grown to respect him and what he's been able to contribute to the industry and staying true to him in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I've grown to respect it and understanding that he was the top guy and he looked at it as representing the company, and he did it in all facets, and good or bad. And so in a way, I've kind of grown on that opinion over the last couple of years, where I'm like, yeah, I think that's a guy that really kind of represented the company really well.
Yeah, I think if you want to fault anyone, you fault Vince McMahon, right? Like, yes, you fault the person in charge of continually putting him in spot after spot after spot, with others getting mad, sometimes fans getting mad. If he really is the company guy, which I believe that he is, and the company asks you to do something and you go out and do it, how can you be faulted for going out and continually doing it and continually bringing in numbers and revenue and money and all kinds of things? I don't know. It's like you can be mad at him that he never went to the boss and said, actually, I think we should do it this way.
Right.
But, you know, because he was a good company guy, we're gonna fault him.
Yeah.
Because he was very, very loyal.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's always kind of bothered me with John Cena because like I've respected him in that sense of being like, you know what, I'm coming in, I'm going to work, I'm going to represent the company. But there's also times, and I think it might be, I call it the Hogan effect, where, you know, ever since he was the guy that had the mentality of like, I'm making sure nobody's getting above me and I'm going to call all the shots, where you have some of these other top stars that kind of get reluctant and having their say in creative. And sometimes I wish John Cena, especially during the latter parts of the Vince McMahon era, where he could have put his foot down a little bit more and said, look, I want to do this as opposed to you're telling me to do this. I wish there was more of that. And I don't think, you know, it makes him the next Hulk Hogan or anything like that for saying, hey, I think this is a bad idea. But again, at the same time, you know, for somebody that was at the top, when you really think about it, there's only one instance where I could think of Cena being maybe selfish, and that was the Nexus stuff, where at SummerSlam, like Nexus should have won that match, and the Nexus members, Edge and Jericho, talked about how Cena was not going to lose that night, and he made the call. That's the only one I could think of where he was potentially selfish. Otherwise, in a long, long career of being a top guy, usually you hear about stuff like about it with a favorite of mine in Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like you look back to you look back to when he walked out on WWE because he didn't want to do the Brock Lesnar match for King of the Ring because he wanted to save it for Mania, and he was right about that, just for the record. But in terms of like, you know, doing that, there's also been talks like I remember like Jeff Jarrett coming back in 1998, and they were like, maybe we do a Jarrett and Austin program. And Jarrett and Austin's like, no, I'm not working with Jeff Jarrett because when I worked with Jerry, I made so little money in Memphis that I don't want to work with his son. Stuff like that. You always hear stuff like that. But with Cena, you very rarely hear about it. The only one I hear about is Nexus.
No, I think that's very fair, right? Like even some of my favorites of all time, and Austin would be one of them. And so I was a huge Steve Austin fan before he became like the stone cold ass whooping, just fight Vince McMahon for 2 years on TV guy.
Right.
But I loved Steve Austin, but was he like that? Yeah, a little bit. I love Ric Flair. Was he like that? Yeah, a lot. Not Hogan-esque, but yeah. Like he was like that. Go ask people what Shawn Michaels was like in the 90s.
Yep, Shawn Michaels is another great example.
Like there's so many. And they just almost all did it. And for John Cena to have that long a career to not really have done it. Okay, so I'll start with, what is your favorite John Cena match?
My favorite John Cena match, personal favorite, has to be the Kevin Owens match for the U.S. title. I believe it was Elimination Chamber. It was during that series match. It was either Elimination Chamber or Money in the Bank. But the Money in the Bank one is the one that's more prominent for me. But that series of matches in general was just so much fun, just from a pure spots match. And I had just been getting into the indies and hearing about Kevin Steen. And obviously he had been in NXT at that time. It's like, oh my gosh, now he's on the main roster and his first opponent is John Cena. And look at John Cena is doing the Hurricane Rana. Like I never thought I'd see John Cena do stuff like that, trying to wrestle with Kevin Owens. Like, so that's my favorite match is that Kevin Owens match, because it was something where I legitimately was like, I can't believe John Cena is doing this. And I was showing friends, like, you got to see what John Cena was able to do with Kevin Owens in this match.
So that's crazy because it was like it's literally in my top 3 matches as well, and for as long a career as he's had. When Kevin Owens beat him for the US title, I was so happy, and then realizing that, I mean, it takes 2 people, right? And
Mhm.
you know, I remember being really happy and then going back and watching it again, going, man, this is really good. Like this was really, really good. Um, for some reason, I remember the Umaga match in 2007. That would have been at the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Because Umaga was this, you know, terror. Not one of the first, but he was one of those big guys that can really, really move. And they presented him like a monster going into that match. I was like, man, I don't know. And I just remember at the end of it going, that was incredible. So one of the things that's interesting that we're talking about right now is like, I don't think John Cena was one of the great wrestlers of all time, like in the wrestling ring. But when you go back and look at his matches that we all love, they're always with somebody else that's really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, you give credit to the other person for making them really good, but you got to keep up with them.
Hmm.
And like for me, it's, you know, a match against Daniel Bryan and lots of matches against, I want to call him Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler.
Yes.
But so many matches that you go back and look at, like Kevin Owens with great opponents that he made something great out of. I mean, the Edge matches for me were amazing. The Punk matches, incredible. Like I don't even know if I could pick one. The other one, and you're gonna kill me for this one.
Uh-oh.
I'm preparing my shell.
Dominic Mysterio. Here we go. Let's get into this discussion.
No, I'm preparing my shell.
Okay.
But so in that speech that I just gave about like look at all the, when you look at the best matches, it's Punk, it's Kevin Owens, it's Daniel Bryan, it's Shawn Michaels, it's like the guys on the other side were amazing. The one match that I really loved, I loved the hype going into it. I thought it was a great idea. I love that he went in full underdog mode. I loved maybe the hype before, like the 2 months before, but I loved the match against The Rock in Miami.
See, I don't hate that. I like that match too.
And one of the reasons why I like it so much is this one was not The Rock carrying it. Like Daniel Bryan or Shawn Michaels or Kevin Owens or CM Punk, who, you know, could probably get a little bit more out of John than some other guys. Right. No, this was John getting a little bit more out of The Rock and making it like, I remember MGK doing the song Invincible with John Cena coming out, and then Flo Rida, which is Florida, Zach, for people who didn't know.
What?
It's incredible. Yeah, it's still incredible to me that people don't know that. That's Flo
what the space in between
Rida
is for. Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Flo Rida is Florida. Huh.
What?
Imagine that. But Flo Rida doing The Rock, it felt really, really big. And then the match didn't disappoint. Where I was a little bit disappointed was when, like, I wanted Cena to win that match. Like I wanted the Chargers to beat the Eagles this week.
Yes.
Like a lot. But they're not my favorite, but a lot. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Nick Sirianni and Dwayne Johnson, they're kind of the same to me. I don't like them. So when they lose, I'm really happy about it. And I really wanted John Cena, who was carrying The Rock in that match. I wanted him to beat The Rock in Miami at Mania so that The Rock would go home. But it didn't happen. And then Cena beat him. They had the year kind of build up to the next one. And then Cena beat him in the next one. And that one wasn't great. But
Yeah, that one wasn't as good. No.
I loved that program because it emotionally invested me somehow, some way to go through January, February, March, and into April. I remember how kind of pumped up I was about that. So that's one of my favorite times. And I look, The Rock and Cena, not the greatest wrestlers of all time, but
No.
I loved the way that build made me feel. So now I'm going to turn and ask you, what do you think John Cena's best match was?
It was funny when you were saying you were preparing your shell. I was trying to think of all the John Cena matches that, and I was like, is he going to say John Cena versus the Great Khali right now? Is that what he's going to try and put over? I was like, oh, geez, might be a tough sell if Lee is going to try and put that one on, but I'll hear him out.
Yeah.
It's not going to be my best match, just for the record. But yeah, I think his best matches, and I think Cena would say the same, just in terms of everything coming together, in ring, storyline, where they were at the company at the time, what it kind of meant, and what it kind of symbolized. I think it has to be the John Cena CM Punk match. Specifically, funny enough, mentioned Money in the Bank with Kevin Owens and John Cena. I think Money in the Bank as well with Punk and Cena. Just the environment that they wrestled in and just how cleanly they worked together. Even all these years later, and I know that Cena wasn't exactly the smoothest in his run this year, but there was that little glimpses. I will not lie. I was a little nostalgic when Punk and Cena locked up at the Elimination Chamber this past year. I was like, oh, they actually still have a little bit of that chemistry, I thought. And I remember seeing it at the time and thinking, man, these two just like know each other, how to work with each other. And it goes back to, you know, both of these guys, Punk and Cena, are both guys that know what they're good at and know what they are limited at. And they were able to just mesh so well to create this professional wrestling series that they did in, you know, early 2011 and in 2011 to 2013. Obviously, the whole era of the summer of Punk, I wanted it to be better. All of a sudden, Kevin Nash showed up for some reason in that summer of Punk, and it's like, do we really need Kevin Nash here? And Triple H, of course, had to get himself involved in that.
But we go back and listen to some of the promos attacking Kevin Nash, and those are pretty.
Oh, it's great. Oh, I love those. It was awesome. Oh. Kevin Nash, WTF? Can't believe he's here. Thought he was dead. LOL. Like, so good. Oh, and you could see kudos to Nash. You could see him trying to hide a smile when he heard that in the promo. He's like, all right, he's getting it. And then for some reason we had Nash versus Triple H in a match. Like that helped part this feud, I guess. But I just remember that era being like, I thought this was about Punk. What are we doing here? Like, why is Kevin Nash showing up on my television screen? But nonetheless, no, I think that whole series in the early 2011 to 2013, that era of those Punk and Cena matches. And you know, a lot of people love that Money in the Bank match, and I loved it too. But my actual personal favorite matchup of theirs between each other was actually that match on Monday Night Raw in 2014, where they were setting up the rematch with The Rock there or whatever. And yeah, I thought that was a great match. That was the one when Punk pulled out the pile driver at that time, where it was like, oh my gosh, like other than Taker and Kane, nobody does a pile driver in the WWE. But it was awesome. Like it was like the chemistry that those two had. I thought from a pure wrestling standpoint, that was probably my favorite match of the Punk series. But yeah, it has to be, in my mind, Punk and Cena. And I think Cena's even talked about it too, where he's like a wrestling soulmate. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree. I think one of the interesting things about looking back on John Cena's career is almost every single guy that we would put like in the top, there's always like a big series of matches. All of like CM Punk, There's lots of matches to choose from,
Yep.
like The Rock or like I think the other one that probably should be mentioned is I remember like when AJ Styles first got there and wrestled John Cena. That would have been 16 because I remember the second match was Rumble 17. So the one before, why am I having a hard time? We have the thing called the internet. I guess it could
Answer all your questions.
could look it up. Oh, it was at SummerSlam 2016, and then they fought again at Royal Rumble 17, and then even the one they had in Paris, it was crazy.
Yep.
Like the fans made that match. It wasn't like they were at their primes, but man, they did some cool stuff and they did some callbacks, and it was entertaining. And I think you go back and you think of John Cena's biggest rivals, whether it's Punk or whether it's AJ Styles or whether it's Edge or whether it's Kevin Owens or The Rock. You go through his top 10 opponents, and there's always a big series of matches. Yep. There's not just one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but what about Randy Orton, Lee? What about those series of matches with Randy Orton?
Yeah,
do we break down each individual match and what they brought to the table in 2009? Do we talk about
that's where
matches?
I thought they got the definition of Survivor Series. Like I had to survive watching that series of matches.
We're gonna do this match, but now in an I Quit format. Awesome, great. That's what a different change to that one. Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, look, I know he loves Randy, and they love each other, and people like Randy Orton, and that's good for them.
Yeah,
I'm not one of those guys. I don't think you're one of those guys. So
I think I made it pretty clear on this show on what my thoughts on those Orton and Cena matches, just in general. So, yeah. Although I will say, I want to quickly mention, during the time of the 2010s, you mentioned all those name guys like AJ Styles, CM Punk, Kevin Owens, like guys that were really, really good in the ring. It was one of those deals where it's like, New Japan was getting hot at that time in mid 2010s. And that's when I was really getting locked into pro wrestling. And during that time, there was always like, the dream super card. Like what would happen if WWE and New Japan would come together and create a super card and have all their big stars face off against each other. And I have always, obviously we will never see it because both of these guys are retiring, but I would always wanted to see what a John Cena versus Hiroshi Tanahashi match would look like. Because I know Cena could come to the plate, and Tanahashi in his prime, like I know when I was able to see Tanahashi in his prime live, thank God, at 2019 against Omega. But when we saw Tanahashi in Toronto a few years ago, it's like, oh, this is not the same Hiroshi Tanahashi that I saw with the wrist control on Kazuchika Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. That guy was gone. But in his prime, oh my goodness, like I would have loved to have seen what those two could do in the ring. Like two of the defining faces of their respective companies clashing together to determine who would win it out. Now, obviously, the creative would suck because no one would win, because they'd want each guy to win, so it'd probably be a double count out. But the idea of Cena taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi was still very tantalizing for a young, impressionable Zach McGibbon when he was getting into the wrestling business.
Okay. So let's talk about Saturday night's main event coming up this Saturday, December the 13th. It is the final time that John Cena will wrestle. He's made it very clear for 15 months. I love how clear he has made it. I completely believe him. This will be his final match. Wrestlers don't retire. They always come back. John Cena is not coming back in the ring. Has signed a 5-year ambassador deal with the WWE. So I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll first ask you, is Gunther the right opponent for John Cena? And I'll ask you twice.
Okay.
Was Gunther the right person from the people that were in the tournament? And then secondly, was Gunther the right person of anybody that it could have been to be in this final match?
The answer to your first question is yes. Where yes, out of all the people, it was probably best for him, especially the way that he returned on TV with his old music back and like, oh, this is them reestablishing Gunter. Second one's a little bit more complicated for me because uh I don't know if I want to change like the dynamics of the question, but like it's more of a if they didn't do all this stuff earlier, if they didn't do the Punk match earlier, if they didn't do the Brock match earlier, hell, I'll even say if they didn't do the Randy Orton stuff earlier, where you had all these other matches that are kind of tied to John Cena and his career. Um, I feel like if they didn't blow those off just so that they could say that they did them during this run, I
Mhm.
would have preferred those as sort of the final match, specifically Punk. It still aches me that their last match is in Saudi Arabia of all places. To have their final encounter with each other. I would have loved for it to be here. Um, so if I was given the pencil, I would not have, booked the CM Punk John Cena match this early. Um, but if we're talking about what we had already gone through, the only other one that would have made a little bit of sense to me, and I pitched it on the show, was potentially Rey Mysterio, only just as a nostalgia act, one off, final match. Two of the stars that defined an era for WWE fans, that PG era, and commonly associated with WWE fighting it out. I know it would be babyface, but I think it would have worked with those two. That's the only one where I could be sold on that as a final match. But otherwise, to answer your question, without all that, I still think that if you wanted to get the best out of John Cena, I think the person that brings the best out of a lot of people is Gunter. And I think it makes a lot of sense for it to be Gunter in the final match. Um, and it's funny, we were talking about, this show about how when you put him in there with a really good wrestler, he will step up to the plate and he will, go toe to toe with that guy. And so I think Gunter is going to bring the best out of him. And I think that's what Cena wants to, is to, if he's going to go out, he wants to go out at his best. And so from an in-ring aspect, I agree. From a nostalgia or what I would have wanted, probably not. I would have went somewhere else with this final match.
So I'm the same for you on the first question, because when they announced the people and there's a lot of TBAs and surprises, and they all ended up being like ghosts of John Cena's past and not kind of now or future surprises, which okay. I mean, look, it's for John, so they can do what they want when they want. I get it. I liked seeing Cardona. I liked seeing Dolph Ziggler back, but they were never going to win. And when you saw the roster, especially the final four,
Yes.
oh my Lord, you had Gunther and Solo and LA Knight and Jey Uso. Like at that point, you're just praying that it's Gunther.
Yeah.
And none of the other guys. I know this is a John Cena show, but remind me on another show to get like overtired, overworked, and then come on like you did last week and talk about the fans who think LA Knight's being shafted. Can you let me
Sure.
you let me do that at some point? Okay.
Sure. You could do it like Paul Heyman style. Remember when Paul Heyman showed up all disheveled on SmackDown or whatever when he took that power bomb? And you can potentially get people calling for nominations for an Emmy Award for that because you didn't sleep for a few days. So you could do that if you'd like.
Okay.
And I could sit here and for full effect, as I learned as I was listening back to the initial audio that was sent to me by Lee Versage, I'm not realizing that I did have my proper mic equipment on. So not only did Lee Versage have to listen to me rant and rave on the last episode, but he also had to hear it in poor audio quality. And so for an hour.
Well, that's the thing.
So
You're always welcome. You're always welcome to rant and rave on this program. It is your program. Yes. You can do what you want when you want. Yeah, I mean, I thought you were sick or something, but that's fine.
Yeah.
You had done a lot that weekend, but just remind me to talk about the people who think that LA Knight's getting shafted.
Yes.
Uh, like I have a whole show ready for this, but
Yes. Well, it's
so
okay
the
because
answer,
there's the report that came out that LA Knight's going to get a big push in 2026. So
yeah,
get excited.
yeah.
Just like how Julia was going to get a big push once he debuted on the main roster, or like when Montez Ford was going to get a big push once he's
Well,
out of the
Montez
tag
Ford
team.
might be getting a big push right now. He
Well,
could
now,
be.
well, they realized that people didn't love the masked person angle, so it's like, let's change it up, but let's have multiple people be the masked person so that we can get people excited. It's like, all right, fine, that's fine.
Okay, we're
So,
losing focus here. So
sorry.
the answer is Gunther in the tournament, no question about it.
Yeah.
And so Gunther can have the year that once he defeats John Cena coming up on the weekend, that he'll be firmly planted as he should be main eventing WrestleMania on night 1 or night 2. Like it should be Gunther and whoever for the world title, or it should be Gunther Brock, or like he better be there because retiring Goldberg, thank God, but also retiring Cena, having, you know, the title going into WrestleMania. Yes, he lost it to Jey Uso, but so much good from Gunther. And they look like they're reinvesting. So he is the answer. So on the second question, I would not say it should have been Gunther. I, like you, would kind of go back. I still feel, and I heard John Cena, and if you haven't listened to John Cena and Chris Van Vliet, do yourself a favor, do it. Man, the mind of John Cena, how humble he really is, just crazy. Such a good interview. So many things you can learn in that interview about wrestling, about life, and what a great perspective that he does have. He's very, very, very good at turning a question around to find some positivity and the positive road to go down. And even in the Brock Lesnar question, he found a way to kind of put it over, and that sounds like Brock's going to be leaving soon as well. And for him to go out on top, he needed to do that to John Cena. Yeah, we can debate that, but
yeah,
I would have loved to see like the final match to be like an all-out war with Brock Lesnar, with John Cena winning at the end. And after he got annihilated, coming back and beating him in an all-out war, you could do it so it's not going to make Brock look like an idiot. It's possible. I mean, they made John Cena look like an idiot, and he came out just fine.
Yep.
So I think I would have liked to have seen that. I still think there was an idea to do The Rock. I think I'll probably believe that even more in listening to Cena and listening to like something happened. And I know The Rock took off and got the role, and but I still think that The Rock wanted to be involved, and yeah, Travis Scott was supposed to be involved, and it went sideways, and John Cena did a great job at finding the positives in that going sideways. But I would have liked to have seen John Cena beat The Rock. And I would have liked to have seen him beat Brock Lesnar in an all-out war, that he finally conquered the top of the mountain that way after getting twice. Because what do people remember about John Cena and Brock Lesnar? Don't tell me like it's tied or that like Brock Lesnar is up 3-2, whatever it is. Because right. Cena's beaten him a couple times. Yep. Nobody remembers those.
No.
You remember
him getting
John
his ass kicked. Yeah.
Yes. John Cena getting beat from pillar to post and getting his ass handed to him twice. You remember that.
Mhm.
I would have liked them to have gone back and recognized that, and you don't need to make Brock Lesnar. You already had him beat The Undertaker. Like, come on. Like, he's beat John Cena so badly that nobody's beat Cena like that twice. Nobody's ever touched him that way twice. And he also beat The Undertaker and beat the streak. You don't need to put Brock Lesnar over more. You could have figured out a way to have this happen and beat him. So I would have preferred Cena wrestling and beating either The Rock or Brock Lesnar. Those make more sense to me. But within the tournament, Gunther is the right answer. So the heel turn. Do you think it adds to his legacy? The way that it all played out this year? Now looking back on the entire year of 2025, what does the heel turn do for the legacy of John Cena?
I don't think it adds or takes away anything. I think it had a minimal effect, if I'm being honest. I wish I could come on here and say it added more to his legacy. If the heel turn had worked afterwards and everything that was booked afterwards. The moment itself, like,
I know, I don't want to cut you off, but I will.
Okay.
No, because I really want you to answer this question.
Yeah.
How could it not add to his legacy if I ask you the question right now? What are the 3 greatest heel turns of all time? Is he in that list?
I wouldn't put him in the list unless you're talking about the singular moment in time heel turn. Okay.
Yes.
The singular moment in time heel turn, sure. I can hear the argument for.
Well, there's no question. I don't know if I've ever seen a more defined, is it the moment or is it the run?
Right.
Because we know the moment was like if you're going to do it out of 100, the moment's 99.
Yep.
And the run is 1.
Yeah,
like
1.
0.1.
Yeah.
Like, what a gap between the moment and the after. But when you just say the 3 greatest heel turns, which implies the moment, it doesn't imply the run afterwards. I don't know. It's hard not to think that it's Hogan and him 1-2.
Certainly the most memorable of those, again, individual moments in time.
Right.
Because
so that's how I would define that it does add to his legacy. Because when I ask you that question in a year, it's still going to be John Cena. If I ask you in 5 years, it's still going to be Hogan and Cena. Nothing is coming down the road here that's going to be bigger than those 2.
Right. Yeah. It's tough because it's like, I get where you're coming from, again, moment in time, but I look at heel turns completely, like, and the run afterwards and what they did afterwards. And obviously Hogan's has got to be number 1 in terms of what they were able to do afterwards. The business, obviously, that's set. No need to re-explain that. But the Cena stuff, like, the more I think about the heel turn and the more that I think about the run afterwards, I think, man, so many missed opportunities of what they could do with that.
It's one of the worst runs of all time. It literally is one of the worst runs of all time.
Yeah.
So much so that they will tell you that they were going to switch him back anyway, but they were forced to switch him back because the people actively told them this is no good.
Yeah, it's not working. To the point where he essentially cut a promo on SmackDown, was like, I'm back. I'm C Nation. You can't see me. I'm John Cena, guy anymore. So
I got colors again. I'm not black and white. Like,
I don't know who this Rock guy is or who this Travis Scott guy is. I'm John Cena. buy my merch now, where 3/4 of the arena is filled with John Cena merch now. So, yeah, it's so tough because it's like, that's why I don't feel good about saying it, because I want to like it.
Right.
In that moment of time, like, oh, it was so brilliantly executed. Like, I'm pretty tough on WWE because they're number one, and I feel that's fair to be tough on them. But boy, the way that they executed everything, from the heel turn, the camera angles, everything, and even commentary to an extent, other than Michael Cole mistaking the watch with brass knuckles. Other than that, like, everything was great. But
I forgot
otherwise,
about that.
yes, I was reminded of that when I saw those WWE Unreal parodies that were starting to be put out by RJ City this past week. But yeah, so
Eddie Kingston one was fantastic, by the way.
Oh, so funny. I just like, what's wrong with your voice? It's authoritative. It's supposed to give authority. So good. Oh, so good.
If you want to watch a good clip, go back and watch RJ City with Eddie Kingston.
Oh, it's hilarious. And Eddie's just kind of looking at him, like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? Who is this guy? That it was quite... and that and the parody of them, like, of RJ City, like, doing the parody of that scene from Unreal where he's like, all right, I gotta reach out to Nick Khan and make sure everything's good. And changing it up, it's like, I went to David Arquette with this to see what he thinks. It's like, and he was thinking, he's like, and I thought he was gonna say no, but he loved it. I had to bring it to Big Justice to make sure the creative was good. Like, stuff like that was so good. But again, I going back to the Cena stuff, like, I feel like as a moment in time, like, in that moment, remember, we were both coming on to this show. It's like, oh my gosh, like, this could be awesome. Like, they actually are pulling the trigger, and like, what could come from this? Like, how are they going to follow up on this? But everything else just leaves such a sour taste there, where, like, yes, that moment in time was incredible, but that was also built on potential of, like, what could it be? And then we saw what happened afterwards, and I just can't bring myself to say, oh, that was an all-time great heel
See,
turn.
I'm a little bit different. That I was so shocked that they turned John Cena, the biggest Make-A-Wish Foundation guy in the history of the world, they turned him heel on his last. Like, that moment of me being shocked won't leave. Like, no matter what the run was afterwards. Okay, so how do you see this all playing out coming up on Saturday? And I just want one thing, like, you hear all these reports that John Cena is going to, like, they're going to have the match first because he wants to have the match and get out of the way and let the other talent rise. And, like, folks, that is not true. Just remember what happened to Bill Goldberg on Saturday night's main event when he was retired.
Yep.
He got on the mic and they were late, and it's a hard out on Saturday night's main event. It's not Netflix when you're on Peacock, and that's it.
Yep.
It's over. And they cut him off.
Yep.
I was thankful. Other people weren't.
Yes.
But they are doing this for the sole reason that they make sure that they do not run out of time. And we'll talk about the card here quickly, but, like, if Obafemi gets cut, like, from 12 minutes to 6, well, guess what, Oba? John Cena went long. If Sol Ruka gets cut from 9 minutes to 4.5, guess what, Sol? Greatest
John Cena was on the card.
Greatest 4.5 minutes you might ever have. So
that's right.
They are doing this first, so they absolutely do not run out of time. And I just want to make that clear. That is why they're going first. No other reason.
We don't want to be denied Ernest the Cat Miller on WWE programming like we were last time with the Bill Goldberg stuff. So,
yeah, exactly. Okay, so how do you see it all playing out with Gunther?
I think he's winning. I think it's going to be a competitive match, though. Like, I think you're going to get your classic Cena hope spots, and he's just going to come up short. I don't think it's going to be a squash like I see some people making it out to be.
Yeah, no.
I think it'll be a competitive 10, 15-minute match. I will ask this question though. I will try to sell you on this.
Okay.
Because I had been thinking about this. It's like, you know, what would it really hurt Gunter if he lost to John Cena? Like, would it really hurt him that badly if he lost to John Cena in that match, in his final match?
Tell me what happens. See, the fear is that what are they going to do to get Gunther's heat back immediately?
Yeah, fair enough.
That would be my absolute fear, because if you're going to make the decision for John Cena to beat Gunther, so the answer to your question is I don't think it would hurt him as much as people think by losing to John Cena and then going out and still going on a rampage afterwards because he's mad that he lost and people are making fun of him that he lost. And like, you could do it. And Gunther could absolutely pull it off. But if they do something right away to get Gunther's heat back, I'll want to throw up. So I don't think he would be hurt that much if John Cena beat him. No. As long as they just had John Cena beat him and actually make him tap. Because Gunther, when he has lost big matches, what does he do? He taps quickly.
Yes.
That's his thing, right? Suddenly, like the same move he put on Jey Uso that he could have choked his neck out of his body for 18 minutes, but then Uso put the same move on him for 4 seconds and he tapped out.
Right.
And he's done it before in his career. So do they do could they work an angle afterwards to make Gunther still strong? Yes. I think they could, because Gunther is that good to be able to pull something off.
If
I don't
it's
think
the
it's
angle
happen.
of, no, I agree. I was just wondering, because I don't think it's as clear cut as I think people are making it out to be. To the point where I was trying to come on this show and try and sell the idea of John Cena winning the match.
Yeah, no, he's not winning. He's not winning.
It's too tough of a sell. Now if you could have me buy in, if Gunter's beating up Michael Cole again like he did after the Jey Uso match, like I'm in on that. Like you can buy, I'll be bought in. It's like, all right, his heat is back and Cole is off programming.
Do we see anything with like Imperium or like Gunther going to the next level with somebody else? Do we see interference at all in this match? What are the circumstances around what they're going to do here?
I hope to God there's no interference or some sort of run in from like Dominic Mysterio or something like that. Oh, that would just leave a bad taste in my mouth. I feel like it's going to be wrestled a pretty clean, straight up fair match. And I know I'm saying that for modern day WWE right now, but I feel like it is going to be more of a clean, straight up professional wrestling match. Can I ask a controversial question?
Yep.
Is Donald Trump showing up at the show Saturday?
I think we heard rumblings early, but I don't think he will.
You don't think so? Yeah. At the start, I was like, I was pretty locked in that he was showing up, but as the days kind of go on, it's like I don't think he's going to show up.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think it's I don't think it's a very good look for the WWE at that point.
Yeah. Oh, well, WWE's not too afraid of that with their ticket prices.
I understand. Yeah. So we're going to come on here afterwards and talk all about it. I think Gunther does win. I think he probably shows respect to John Cena afterwards. I think you're going to get the full speech. And I think you're right. It's going to be as clean cut as it possibly could be, with the bad guy making the good guy tap out and finding a way to show him some respect. I think you're going to have the entire locker room come out.
Yep.
And show that respect afterwards. And I think it'll be a nice feel good moment. Like you really get on it can be simple. Sometimes it can be simple. Yep. And if they wrestle just a really good match that Gunther makes John Cena tap out and then shows him respect, and then the rest of the locker room comes out and then he does a speech, it can be a nice moment. And you do not have to overcomplicate it. I hope they don't.
Yeah.
That would be my feeling. I hope they don't.
Yeah. I'm hoping they don't turn a moment into a WWE moment trademark, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. However, we're just a few days away from it. All right, Zach, this has been fun. We will reconvene the second, well, not the second that it's over, but very, very soon there afterwards. And we will talk all about it. We'll have lots more in the Continental Classic AEW to talk about as well. So it's a good time. I think that we're going to see some things happening in AEW as well. But where they go now with after this John Cena thing, you do have the Rumble in Saudi. It's still a ways away. It's like literally January 31st. So it's so far away still from after what December 13th is going to be. So the WWE will have its work cut out to try and make that a really, really big event that nobody can go to in North America, to make people tune in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 2 o'clock in the afternoon to be able to do it. But anyway, we do have this coming up on Saturday. Always good to catch up with you, Zach. We'll catch up with you in a few days.
Looking forward to it, and hope we'll see what the retirement match for John Cena brings this Saturday.
For Zach McGibbon, I'm Lee Versage. Thanks again for listening to This Is Wrestling.